All right, guys, welcome back to the Independent Investor Channel. My name is Ryan. I really wanted to touch on this this topic that I picked up on a Joe Carlson video. I want to give proper credit as well to Joe. It was during his Why You're Not Rich video, and the beginning of it, he was explaining how it is that people go from different income classes and what we're really all striving to achieve. And if you guys want a detailed review, I highly recommend checking out the beginning of that video. I looked at it, watched it once, then rewatched it again with my wife. And I found the explanation of that particular exercise to be extremely beneficial. And it validated a lot of what I actually do. But I found it was really interesting to see a lot of what I do in practice justified and explained, and hearing Joe's explanation about what he thought on different income classes and how some of the tendencies really prohibit us from achieving our financial goals going forward. Yeah, so I just wanted to show you where I was taking this information from. I felt like this explanation from Joe Carlson was worth repeating. This is really cool how he walks through this low income flow chart here. It really makes it easy to understand. At least I found it extremely valuable when I went through it for the first time with me. And then I was able to show my wife. And he walks through. This would be kind of where most people dwell, myself included, in the middle income class, and what it actually means. This is where I consider that vicious cycle to occur, where the earned income is coming in here and being consumed by the liabilities. And then finally, he does a great job of walking through this final graph here, which demonstrates the importance of rerouting some of that earned income back and actually having the opportunity to have some of these assets actually come around and fund themselves. And it becomes kind of a self-sufficient program at that point, and not so reactive on the earned income. So I just wanted to show you this. Certainly encourage everybody to go over and and take in that tutorial from Joe Carlson. He does a good job of walking through this explanation. I found it extremely valuable, and I know you will as well. So I'll kick you back over to YouTube and we'll continue on with the video. So I highly encourage you to do that, but I'm going to walk through some of the things that I picked up from the explanation, and I want to turn back some of the explanation that I heard from Joe in that video on how we pursue establishing an assets category in each and every one of our lives. Now, keep in mind the title of the video, Why You're Not Rich, is somewhat misleading in that I think a lot of people look at investing as just being a pursuance of wealth. And I really think that prohibits a lot of people from even wanting to play the game or even wanting to participate in the stock market. And I really want to dispel a lot of those notions. And what Joe talks about, he starts with people who are considered poor or the lowest income bracket in this country. And a reason for that income bracket being that you just don't earn enough money, quite frankly. The simplicity of not having enough to just make normal ends meet with regard to the income that you're making and just living paycheck to paycheck. This is what I talk about with regard to the inflows meeting the outflows in your life. And really the only way of improving your financial situation to step up into the middle income category is to increase your income. And I thought, although that was true, I deal with a lot of people that are part of the subscriber base that may fit into the lower income category that are choosing to opt for an investment strategy that is reflective of their current income. And those are the folks that I really tip my hat to. The folks that identify how important it is to invest for your financial future, but may not actually have the ability with the inflow and the outflow without some really aggressive budgeting. And I really want to push out for all investors out there that are tuning into the message, that are aspiring to something greater, but may not be there just yet. There is absolutely a path and a program for you as well. And if you're one of those folks that are making a nominal salary or working very, very hard for your hourly wage, I really think it's important for you guys to understand that this opportunity is for you as well. This is why I throw out the figure of $25 a month so often on the channel, because for a lot of people, they look at investing as being a rich person's game, and looking at investing as being something that they cannot participate in. And that is so untrue. What is absolutely true is that the availability of the investing opportunity can be appropriate for anybody. It's just, it can be scaled back, guys, to give you that introductory exposure to the market. And I think a lot of people use it as a barrier to entry to say, you know what, I just don't have it, therefore I'm not going to participate, rather than to find that initial $25 or, you know, as little as $10. If I really felt like investing was one of those things that I could participate in my life, but I didn't quite have the income to justify stepping into an investment program, I would look to be as aggressive as I possibly could and start with something. That is the key. Because what I'm going to talk about is the earlier you can start to identify the importance of introducing some assets into your total overall financial picture, the better off you're going to be, because the more time you're going to have for those assets to perform over time for you. All right. Now, Joe went on to explain the interesting phenomenon, and I call this the vicious circle. This is almost like a dog chasing its tail. It really is. When we talk about the middle income to me are interesting. Okay. These are some of the people who may appear to be rich because they've got the beautiful car or the beautiful truck sitting in the driveway, and they're in a $500,000 home, and they don't have two nickels to rub together because they're busy in this vicious cycle, same as the poor people, to be honest with you, of spending every bit of inflow that they have on their liabilities category. Liabilities being bills, consumables, etc., and whether it be sunken costs or luxury costs. Everything falls in the liabilities category that consume our income. Okay, so when the income comes out, it's going to bills, it's going to house payments. And a lot of people will say, well, hold on, Ryan, a home is an asset. Wait just a second. If your home is consuming a lot of your income, you have to be very, very careful about the aspect of owning a home that, yes, I would concede that is part of an assets category. Whether it be equity in the home, that would be appreciated value through equity in the home. Certainly, if you have a rental income attached to your home, or you have a rental that is part of your monthly program, maybe an Airbnb or something like that, that absolutely could fall into the assets category. But be careful in automatically dubbing it a 100% asset, because usually a home, for most people, is the largest consumer of that income, okay? So as the income comes in, you're putting that $2,000 house payment out there for the potential of making that equity, when you're getting consumed on the loan side of the house with the interest that you're actually paying on the home under an amortized schedule. So just be kind of careful. What we're going to talk about in the assets category in just a second, real estate is one of those things that absolutely fall into the assets category, but there are absolutely some definitions that we need to go over to make sure that you're more of an asset than a liability, okay? And the last category was an interesting one, how Joe walked through actually rich people. And I find this definition extremely shallow, because I define riches as being significantly more than wealth on the surface, okay? And Joe would agree with me on this. Obviously, health, quality of life, family, etc. plays into that category. Wealth just being an aspect, at best, of the definition of riches in this life, okay? But I found it very, very appealing how he talked about the ability to take that income and channel that income into assets, okay? Assets, for the sake of this discussion, are going to be one of two things, in my humble opinion, okay? It's going to be stock, and it's going to be real estate. Now, you guys can offer any type of ideas in the comments below with regard to any other assets that you would identify. Maybe it's a business, maybe it's affiliate marketing. Those types of opportunities are absolutely opportunities that could fall into the assets category. So use your imagination in getting yourself excited about why we always talk about the investing opportunity, but we don't follow through and really define what we're looking to do, and that is to strengthen our assets versus our liabilities in our life. It comes down to being that simple. And what makes people financially successful or rich in this life, if you will, is the ability to take a certain aspect of their income and leverage that into the assets category. And I found this really, really interesting in comparing when that money goes into that assets category. It's slowly strengthening the ability of that asset within that assets bucket to do a certain number of things. And the certain number of things are the things that I want to add as far as where I really, really want folks to understand, and where I really, really found that there was a significant amount more value for people who really look to achieve that asset category. What I mean by that is, if you're adding a dividend stock portfolio to that assets, it has the ability to grow in a number of different ways. And this is where it really gets exciting. You have capital appreciation, you have dividend payment, you have the ability to manufacture that wealth or grow that wealth over time through taking a small aspect of your income and channeling it into that asset. You can add more assets to that. So multiple ways to grow that asset. Now think about that for a second. Think about dividend reinvestment for an example. Dividend reinvestment is something that you get paid for being an investor. When those dividends are paid within that assets bucket, it's growing that asset exponentially over time without any type of injection from your income. That in and of itself, the ability to grow the asset organically within that bucket of assets, is absolutely the key when we are talking about why we invest, what we're looking to pursue, why we're giving up certain liabilities in our life for the pursuit of rerouting or rechanneling some of that money toward the assets bucket, okay? Now, the reason why I start with stock category is because I feel like if people understand the importance of this aspect, the asset aspect of investing, no matter who you are, you can pursue this level of improvement in your life. I contend that you can be in the poor category and still participate as an investor. You can absolutely be one of those middle income earners like I am, who is absolutely an example of somebody who is aggressively funding that assets category, and is indicative of somebody who by nature of that funding schedule is enjoying and starting to reap some of the benefits of the snowball effect that goes on within that assets bucket. All right? Now, question to ask yourself in the middle income category is, are you one of those people that are consumed by the vicious cycle? And I contend you can be middle income or even upper income and fall into this category where you are naive to the fact that you think you're rich, but you're not. You are not. The ability of being considered rich or financially secure in your life is the ability to look at your assets bucket that you have and look at the ability of that assets bucket to, number one, fund itself, and number two, which is what we're all striving to, is using that assets bucket to potentially fund our liabilities someday. And that right there is a beautiful thing. I am not there currently. I am absolutely in the assets building phase of this exercise. And I will continue to do that. I will continue for the rest of my life to do that until I am at a point where my assets portfolio are branched across a number of different buckets, all right? And I think I've got the stock aspect pretty well in line, okay? I mean, I'm teaching this topic over YouTube, and the YouTube opportunity for me is one of my small assets. Where I'm deficient in my current assets portfolio is my exposure to the real estate market, okay? Real estate is a very, very interesting one because I feel like outside of the single home ownership, it's really difficult to consider any more than just the equity that you have in that as part of the assets bucket. What I mean by that is if you buy a house for $250,000, you live in it 10 years, it really is a consuming liability until you realize some level of profit out of that. Now, I will say this, that profit is the key in determining whether or not that liability is either a liability over that 10 years or it in fact can be dubbed an asset, okay? So for example, if you make $25,000 off the sale of a piece of real estate and you take that $25,000 and you leverage it into a bond portfolio, a dividend portfolio, you strengthen an existing portfolio, you roll it into another property, right? To maybe increase your level as you step up in the real estate ladder, and you can leverage that $25,000 to try to get as much of that under the assets category as you can. Real estate's a tough one because I don't think anybody can just step into the commercial real estate, multifamily dwelling, rental income property. I'm certain that there's a lot of people out there that are more knowledgeable about it than me that would disagree with my assessment. But I think for the most part that the risk that you're taking on, the overhead that it takes to step into the real estate market, the overhead in way of the maintenance and the expertise that you have to have on retainer to make sure that that property is maintained in a condition that is conducive to realizing that as an asset where it's producing income for you 100% within the assets category. And this is one of those things that when I look to achieve and strengthen my assets bucket, this is an aspect that I really want to improve upon because I think the real estate aspect really has the most potential to be able to fund itself, accumulate multiple properties over time, and then eventually look to supplement my income someday and not have to rely solely on going and trading time for money, okay? The idea is that we all end up in a state in our life where we're doing what we want and our assets bucket are independently funding our lifestyle as we move on later on in life and potentially take a reduction in pay, or we move into what we're all considering reaching in retirement someday. But the whole point of this lesson is to really understand what you're looking to achieve in life. And I know I manufacture a lot of this opportunity for a lot of the subscribers out there who tune into the message that may not understand why it is you start that account with $1,000. It seems very, very shallow when you start and you look at it and you're like, Ryan, it doesn't move. I've lost a little bit. I don't understand why I'm doing this. You'll understand someday in why we're manufacturing that opportunity for so many people. You may not understand it at the onset, but I'm trying to get you to focus on the future in establishing some level of asset ownership in your life. And that's what we're all striving for. It's not going to happen overnight. It's not. It is absolutely a process. It is a journey to build those assets up over time. And I contend that anybody can do it. Anybody in any income class, whether it be if you're in the lower tax bracket or if you're in the middle income tax bracket or if you're in the rich category, you can absolutely look to channel. It's all about channeling that income to strengthen your assets portfolio to either organically fund itself, manufacture some wealth within that portfolio so that eventually over time you can use that assets bucket to fund your lifestyle going forward, guys. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Please, I would encourage anybody to subscribe to the message that we're putting through. If you think of anything additional that I missed in this video, leave it in the comments section. Want to share the video certainly with anybody that you know that can benefit from maybe being part of one of these income categories and maybe look to step into the next highest income category. Perhaps maybe this can put them on the right road to financial success going forward, guys. Thank you so much for tuning into the message, and good luck in your investment future.